booth on the night before voting was due to begin. The footage is said to be from Bargunawan constituency. Awami League leaders claim the incident, if verified, could seriously undermine the credibility of the electoral process. I do want to bring in CNN News 18's Pallavi Ghosh joining us live with more details. Pallavi, you're stationed at a very important polling booth, so give us a sense of what you're witnessing and also these worrying reports that have started to emerge already.
So, well, a quick update. A lot of security is being beefed up over here. Both Mohammed Yunus as well as Tariq Anwar Zia, who's a BNP chairperson, will be coming here anytime now to cast their vote. So this is, you can see the huge amount of media presence, foreign media of course, and that's also because it's really a high-stake election. There are two important points over here, Christine. The first election in which the Awami League is conspicuous by its absence. They have been banned and you don't see any semblance of the Awami League over here. And second, this is of course called the Gen Z election. Remember the student uprising which took place last year is after that these elections are being held. 40 million first-time young voters, and all of them are going to play a very critical role in this, and that's why it's called the Gen Z election. Christine, there are two main stakeholders. There's of course the BNP plus the allies. They're hoping to bank on the more moderate image that they have, and that is where they're trying to reach out to the minorities, and of course Begum Khalida Zia's sympathy factor. On the other hand is of course the Jamaat, and the Jamaat of course, despite the image about them of being extremely radical, is trying to go in for an image perception. But those videos have been out really, Christine. Those videos tell the lie. They point out that how Jamaat has, in many cases, many of the candidates, has actually ended up threatening the minorities, asking them to vote for them, or else they're going to play action. And again, very quickly, yes, there have been reports already surfacing since late last night of, votes being cast, ballot boxes being opened, money being exchanged, and all of this. In fact, one Jamaat leader has already been arrested because he was trying to bribe. Just before I toss back to you, you can see the kind of festive spirit over here. Obviously, people over here too are celebrating the first big election which is taking place. So that's the kind of pictures I leave you with. That's of course the sign that the Dhan, as they call it over here, is the symbol of the BNP. So completely a very, very festive mood over here.
Right, Pallavi, if I could just come in on that as well. Of course, as the polling is underway, already marred by allegations of ballot stuffing. This is something that we've been discussing as well, the nature of these polls. What do you have to say about that? What is the sense that you're getting right now?
Well, I mean, I would look at the minority votes, and I'm going to try and go to one of those areas later in the day. Voting began here around 7:30 a.m. is going to conclude by 4:30 p.m. Counting then begins 300 total parliamentary seats. There are two segments to it. One is on the referendum of the 1971 resolution, and the second, of course, is a vote as far as the BNP versus the Jamaat is concerned. The voting so far, the preliminary figures which are available with us now from the Election Commission has been quite brisk. There's a sense of enthusiasm. But I'm actually coming to you live from one of the most upscale kind of concerts. Have you cast your vote? Have you cast your vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I can see the festive spirit over here.
Yeah.
How does it feel to go and give the vote?
It's really festive. Yeah, it's really festive. We voted very, nicely. There's no chaos, nothing. Very disciplined. That's it.
So what is it that Bangladesh is looking at through these elections?
We are looking forward for a peaceful country, and prosperous. I believe this time people will learn. So they will fulfill our desires. I hope so. But how far it is going, I don't know.
Okay, time will tell.
So much.
So yes, that's a vote for political stability, for reforms and for development. And as a gentleman told me, yes, there's a bit of a festive spirit over here as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Pallavi, for getting us that quick update. Let's quickly talk about more breaking news that's just coming in. A wave of election-related violence, intimidation, alleged vote buying incidents also being reported across Bangladesh, highlighting a tense electoral climate. In the meanwhile, crude bomb explosions near polling centers in Gopalganj have raised safety concerns. Law enforcement and the army say they're acting to maintain order, but the scattered incidents reflect ongoing challenges to ensure a peaceful and fair election. We will be going over to our guest joining us this morning, Asif bin Ali, geopolitical analyst, doctoral fellow, Georgia State University, US. But first, I do want to bring in my colleague Siddhant Mishra into the conversation. Siddhant, worryingly, elections being held under the shadow of alleged violence, voter fraud. Overall, the law and order situation not looking quite good. What's the latest that you can bring to us?
Yeah. The incidents reflects a troubling mix of cash for votes, scheme intimidation and outright violence across multiple districts. In fact, there have been more than 9 lakh law enforcement personnel deployed all over Bangladesh to make sure that that the polling goes peaceful. But before I toss back to you, I would also like to highlight some of the incidents which took place in last 24 hours. In fact, these inputs we have gathered from our sources in Dhaka. So, the violence is struck in Bogura area of Bangladesh. In Khulna 5 constituency, allegations of voter intimidation emerged. In Old Dhaka, Jamaat leader Mohammed Habib was arrested for allegedly distributing money to voters. A mobile court sentenced him to 2 days in jail. Authorities also seized 15 lakh taka from a vehicle belonging to a Krishak Dal leader in Lakshmipur. In Shahastipur's Naria Upzila, joint forces detained a local Jamaat leader with 7.5 lakh taka and a laptop, according to the reports. Now, according to the unrest, 2 crude bombs exploded near polling centers in Gopalganj, raising concern about the voter safety. So, definitely, it's going to be a challenging day for the law enforcement authorities in Bangladesh, and authorities are making sure that elections go peaceful. But perhaps these incidents reflect the kind of money flow, the muscle might that is on display in these elections. Back to you.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for that. Also joining us, geopolitical analyst Asif bin Ali. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast this morning. Sir, of course, a wave of election-related violence. We're already seeing reports emerge of allegations of ballot stuffing. What's your assessment of where things stand right now? Do you see this election as a referendum?
Well, both the election and the referendum, it has both things, a risk and a hope. So the accusations that we are just hearing, these are part of the risk, and these risks are present on the ground. Some of the incidents that shows like Jamaat leaders, have found carrying money and bribing it to the voters. And also some of the BNP leaders have been found as well. I cannot just blame one party. But proportionately speaking, the more criticism is coming about the Jamaat's intention to intervene in the free and fair process of the elections. Now, that is the risk part. Now, the hopeful part is that if, like, we cannot outrightly tell it right now, but it would, like, in next 24 hours, it would be decided whether the election would be credible or not. And if the election remains credible and fairly 60 to 70% turnout happens, then that would be a possible way and solution for Bangladesh to end this transition period and start a democratic government under an elected and politically legitimate government. So that's a very big move forward. Now, right now, this is, of course, hanging between this hope and the risk. And next 24 hours will tell whether hope will prevail or the risk will prevail. However, I see that government is trying their best, as well as civil society, journalist community, that the election should remain free and fair. But there are elements which may not work accordingly as well.
Yeah. And the gentleman we just heard through Pallavi was also of the opinion that there should be a vote for change or for stability. So one's really hoping for that. Before I come to you, Mr. Ali, I want to bring in Pallavi into the conversation once again. Pallavi, you've been speaking to people there. There's also been a lot of fear around minority vote and how minorities are going to vote. Are they feeling safe to step out, really cast their vote, speak their mind? What's the sense that you're getting?
So there are at least 10 to 12 pocket areas where there are a large number of Hindu minorities in Dhaka alone, Christine. There are concerns that in those areas, either there's massive rigging which is going to take place and a lot of pressure coming in from the Jamaat, or even if the voters are going to go out and vote, because no one wants to be marked, no one wants to be noticed as not turning up to vote. So one of their strategies is, and which is something which someone told me yesterday also, when I went to file a ground report, was that we'll go and cast a vote, but we want to go in for an option of not voting for anyone. So we'll pretend as if we have voted. So that is also a part of their strategy. Later in the day, Christine, I certainly will go back to the same area. There are 2 schools which are going to have a voting station. That is where many Jamaat leaders have been kind of menacing and threatening. So I'll see whether on the ground the voter turnout has been low. But for the BNP and the Jamaat, it is very important to send out this message that it's going to be an inclusive Bangladesh that they're going to be voting for. But easier said than done. Lots of things are said at a time of around elections, Christine. We'll have to wait to see what really happens on the ground. Reports coming in from across Bangladesh, Khulna, Chittagong, for example, which also has a sizable polarization of the population, which will be the benchmark or a litmus test on how free and fair these elections are.
Okay, how free and fair the elections are. Hey, I want to quickly bring in Mr. Ali and then you can take the conversation forward. Mr. Ali, how optimistic are you really with what is on the table here? So if we just look at the political stakeholders concerned, the BNP versus the Jamaat, that's the big contest here. Awami League pretty much out of the picture. But these 2 faces representing these 2 alliances have not in the past served as member of parliament. So how optimistic are you really about the political future overall in Bangladesh, even if we're way past, conducting successful elections in the country?
Look, I think followed by this election, Bangladesh will walk towards relative peace. I would be using the word relative peace because absence of Awami League would create a kind of question at some point regarding this election. However, also it's because there were contexts that Awami League were banned from participating in this election. Now, both the BNP and Jamaat, BNP has the long experience of governing the country, whereas Jamaat was always a side character in the Bangladesh politics. But this is the first time they have become one of the protagonists and competing one of the biggest party of Bangladesh, while another biggest party of Bangladesh is left out of the elections. But then let's look at the reality. The reality is right now Bangladesh is governed by a very weak interim government. And yes, the government had some mandate because it came out of uprising, but however, the mandate is not that much that it can bring back stability in the country. And Bangladesh cannot be governed without the political structure. It's like military tried to rule the Bangladesh and they failed it because they understood that Bangladesh is a country that can only be governed by a larger political structure. And from that perspective, of course, if whoever wins the election, out of free and fair process, they will get that legitimacy and to use the state capacity and the power and to resources to bring back the stability. But Awami League question will remain one of the central question in the upcoming future politics of Bangladesh. Now, it also depends who is going in the opposition. Now, you see, Islamist has a significant power right now on the ground. If they secure a significant number of seats in the parliament, and if they decide that they would not be a responsible opposition, but will take more of a provocative opposition, that would also create another trouble. On the other hand, BNP, if they win, because most of the surveys are suggesting that they might win, if they win and if they fail to provide good governance and also take the challenge of the economic struggles that the country is going through, then of course they would also face a similar kind of situation and challenges that Awami League faced a couple of years ago. So the situation is, I would not say it's a very optimistic, but I would say that this is a way forward. Now, it depends on where do you look. I would prefer on solutions instead of just sitting down and doing nothing.
Well, the immediate worry, of course, is just moving past this one phase wherein a lot of reports of violence, of vote fraud are coming to the fore. So let's see what the next few hours look like. Thank you so much, Mr. Ali, for joining us this morning.
And with that, we're also going to slip into a very short break. But don't go anywhere. News and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul chief prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in, as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore the order. So definitely, the pictures and the videos are available in public domain, and this was against the appointment of a politician as a justice minister by Recep Tayyip Erdogan inside the Turkey parliament.
Right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for gathering all that. Now we're shifting focus to some more breaking news. Now this one is from Dhaka.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the...
This is Shankari Bazar in Dhaka. It's one of the most Hindu populated areas. And you can see with the kind of artifacts which are being sold over here. Shakha Pola is a very typical Bengali kind of red and white bangle, which you people must have seen. I can see it there or there in the showcase. And there are all these symbols of the community which lives over here. But not many really wanted to speak to me when I spoke to them, asking them what is it that they are asking for. In fact, this is one of those areas where there is a fear factor that what is really going to happen on the day of polling. Is there going to be violence? Will they be targeted? As we've been pointing out, there has been around 8 to 9% of the Hindu population alone as far as Bangladesh goes. It's a community which has lived in harmony with the Muslims till recently. In the last 2 months, there have been several incidents of attack on minorities. I'm going to try and speak to one or two of them to ask them what is it that they're looking for in elections. Basically, he says peaceful election. Change? Development, change?
এটা তো যে সরকার আসবে সেই সরকারের মনোভাব।
আর হিন্দুদের উপরে অনেক অ্যাটাক হচ্ছে, আপনাদের ভয় লাগে?
এটা তো হওয়ারই কথা।
আগে তো হতো না?
আগে হতো, কম হতো, বেশি হতো, এটাই হয়।
কিন্তু আপনারা ভোট দিতে যাবেন?
হ্যাঁ, অবশ্যই যাব।
স্পিরিট অফ ডেমোক্রেসি ভোট দিতে যাবেন?
ভোট তো দেওয়ার তো না দিতে তো অবশ্যই হবে, যেহেতু নির্বাচন হচ্ছে। এখন দেখা যাক তারপরে কি হয় কালকে।
So they're going to vote despite the fear factor, but what they're saying is that we want peaceful elections. We want development, we want change, which is of course depends on the government. But it was very difficult for me to try and to speak even to them. Beyond this, I did not want to take any questions. In fact, off the camera, they requested me, please don't ask us to make any political statements. But it also matters how many of them actually go out and cast their vote. On the face of it, no one is going to say no. But there's a possibility and a strategy that they may go on polling day, just they don't want to be marked as boycotting the elections, but they may just go there, cast their vote or not cast their vote and just come out at a polling booth. It's going to be a huge challenge both for the BNP on one side and the Jamaat on the other. Both of them claim to be inclusive parties, but the reality on the ground has clearly proved otherwise. With Rahul Malhotra, in Chankari Bazar, Dhaka, Pallavi Ghosh.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore the order. So definitely, the pictures and the videos are available in public domain, and this was against the appointment of a politician as a justice minister by Recep Tayyip Erdogan inside the Turkey parliament.
Right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for gathering all that. Now we're shifting focus to some more breaking news. Now this one is from Dhaka.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul Chief.
Welcome back to CNN News 18. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Him Kaur, and here's a quick look at what we're tracking for you at this hour. Let's get started. One of the most significant elections in 5-decade history of Bangladesh, reports of polling day violence emerge. In a big defense push, IF's proposal for purchase of 114 more Rafale fighter jets to be brought before the Defence Acquisition Council. This ahead of the arrival of French President Emmanuel Macron. Government to move a privilege notice against Rahul Gandhi. Sources suggest seeking expunction of his entire speech if he does not authenticate the charges. After Chief Minister Stalin rules out power sharing arrangement in Tamil Nadu, Congress sources say High Command may hold talks with the DMK to share their concerns. Amid the government's massive push to wipe out Naxal threat by the end of next month, 4 Andhra ministers received threat letters sent in the name of Maoists. After Salman Khan, Bishnoi gang targets brother-in-law Ayush Sharma. Sources also suggest Bollywood actor Ranveer Singh receives a threat via audio message. As Bangladesh goes to polls, reports of ballot stuffing are emerging with brazen attempts to buy votes. At Saidpur Airport, Jamaat-e-Islami leader Bilaluddin Pradhan was caught carrying 7.4 million taka in cash, allegedly meant to influence voters. Authorities say 15,000 taka per vote may have been offered, marking a blatant violation of electoral norms. Bangladesh is witnessing one of its most crucial elections in 50 years today. In the country's first parliamentary poll since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted following the 2024 student-led protest that claimed an estimated 1,400 lives. The Awami League, which led Bangladesh to independence in 1971, remember has been barred from contesting, leaving a largely bipolar race. BNP led by Tariq Rahman versus the Jamaat-e-Islami led alliance. The electoral contest is also being closely watched in New Delhi, given the turbulence in India-Bangladesh ties since Hasina's exit. Now, this is something that we're looking at right now as the polls get underway that have already been marred with allegations of ballot stuffing, violence, reports of violence also emerging from certain areas. Remember, there is going to be a focus on how the minority communities choose to come out and vote. What the numbers tell us, that's going to be the real litmus test of the nature of these polls, which comes 18 months after that student-led uprising that we saw. As Bangladesh goes to polls, reports of ballot stuffing are emerging with brazen attempts to buy votes. For more on this, we have Siddhant Mishra live with us. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. Of course, there are already reports of violence, of ballot stuffing. There is, of course, going to be a lot of questions about the nature and nature of these polls as well.
Well, that's right. In fact, the polls have started taking place from 7:30 a.m. In the morning him, and it's a very, very significant day for Bangladesh, because at the time when interim government took power in Bangladesh, perhaps since then, India as a responsible neighboring country have been demanding free, fair and inclusive elections in Bangladesh. And in fact, for the longest time, there was a suspense over the announcement of elections, but then the elections were announced. But also the important point here is that Awami League is not participating in these elections. The direct fight is between BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami. Now, there have been multiple incidents of violence which have been reported in Bangladesh in last few days ahead of polls, perhaps making situation tough on ground. In fact, more than 9 lakh law enforcement officers have also been deployed to maintain law and order in Bangladesh. So this time around, Bangladesh is voting one, to elect the new government, and second, the national referendum, the charter that has been prepared by the interim Yunus government. So all we know is that by late in the evening, or rather by tomorrow morning, we will get a clear picture of who is going to win in Bangladesh. Also, the final tally, the final results will be out in next 2 to 3 days. Back to you.
Right. Also joining us right now, Pallavi, who's been bringing us all the ground updates. Pallavi, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. Pallavi, it's largely, as we've been talking about this since morning, it's largely BNP versus Jamaat battle that we're seeing. What is your assessment of how both are placed in this contest?
Just to give you a quick context on where I'm standing at this Gulshan Model School and College, and that is where any time now Tariq Anwar is going to come and cast his vote. And after that we are being told that Mohammed Yunus is also going to come and cast his vote. You can already see full-on security over here. Obviously, there are security concerns, not just for Tariq, but across the country as well. It's a do-or-die election, like any election is there for the political stakeholders. But what sets aside this election are two factors. One, of course, is, and multiple messaging. One, of course, is, as Siddhant was popping up, this is an election minus the Begums. Begum Khalida Zia, of course, is no longer alive. But Begum Sheikh Hasina is also very much not here. And the Awami League has been banned. In fact, any mention of the Awami League is seen as a pariah. And the question which arises then over here is that which way will the Awami voters sway? The BNP is banking on the fact that many of those voters will come to them. So that is one factor. The Jamaat, of course, is trying to go in for an image makeover, despite the fact that there has been a lot of... You can see Tariq in the pictures, right? I don't know if you caught it. He's just entering the school. He's going to cast his vote. And for him, I would say it's also a moment where he needs to reinvent himself. He was in a self-imposed exile for over 17 to 18 years. He came back over here just moments before, or days before Begum Khalida Zia died. And he's going to try and make himself acceptable, one, to the young voters. He's also announced a lot of soft and promises to the women voters. You know, remember the legacy of both Begum Khalida Zia, the first woman Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and of course of Sheikh Hasina, is the woman voters. That is what he's trying to tap, which puts Jamaat into a bit of a discomfort, because Jamaat also throws up this imaging of going in for the Sharia, where women are not going to be allowed to come out. You know, I've been traveling to Dhaka many times. It's a very different kind of a society. It's a very open society. I do see a large number of young girls up and about and working. So these things are there. I'm just leaving you with those pictures of Tariq Anwar, who's just come out of his vehicle, and of course he's just going to step in to cast his vote. So the two main stakeholders, so I was quickly talking about him. On one hand, it is an election minus the Awami League and minus the two Begums. So that generation change has already begun. The second, of course, is the Gen X, the 40 million first-time young voters, those who took part in the student uprising. They are going to be a very decisive factor. Who are they going to vote for? Will their strategic alliance with the Jamaat of the NCP, one of the political parties of the student uprising, will help the Jamaat? So these are going to be the big takeaways when the counting begins 4:30 p.m.
Right, thank you so much for getting us those visuals. Also, Pallavi, a huge crowd gathered there that we can see. I can hear some sloganeering as well. Pallavi, though, of course, we were discussing this earlier. This is going to be a closely watched election beyond Bangladesh as well. What happens? What are going to be the political ramifications of the results, even especially at a time where we're seeing very fragile relations between India and Bangladesh? That is something that remains to be seen as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. There is a sense of anger amongst many people over here, and they would talk about it very openly with us, that why is it that Sheikh Hasina continues to remain in India. But I think the Indian government also sent out a very strong, powerful message when in the janaza of the funeral of Begum Khalida Zia, External Affairs Minister, it was a high-profile visit by S. Jaishankar, and in fact Prime Minister Modi was one of the first ones to give a condolence message on the demise of Begum Khalida Zia. India, in an ideal situation, would prefer to do business with BNP than with the Jamaat for very obvious reasons. But India is maintaining a strategic silence, you know, because whoever comes to power over here, they'll have to do business because Bangladesh matters. Apart from the emotional bond, there's of course the very important economic bond. Strategic reasons, we cannot afford to be surrounded by hostile neighbors. This is one factor. So that is going to be very critical to see what is going to be India-Bangladesh ties. That's one. Second, the spillover effect on the attack on the Hindus. Let's not forget forget that there are elections in Bengal. The illegal immigrants issue is also a very big issue over there in the battle for Bengal. These are going to be very important fallouts about whoever party comes to power in Bangladesh post 4:30 p.m. today.
Right, Pallavi, and when we talk about the minorities there, you've told us how perhaps a lot of them are very scared as to how to strategize whom to vote for if they're wanting to come out of their homes. What do you think is going to be a turnout on that front?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go to one of those minority-dominant areas after Tariq Anwar comes out after casting his vote. But, you know, I got that report from the ground yesterday. They are worried. There are around 10 to 11 such pockets in Dhaka alone where there are concerns that the minorities are worried about what is going to be their future. Many of them showed me clips of some Jamaat leaders who are very menacing, who are very threatening. They are worried that, for example, if a Jamaat comes to power, what is really going to be their future? I'm going to go to see whether the voter turnout is high or is it going to be very muted? But there was an underlying silence, an eerie silence, I would say, but a little glimmer of hope that possibly Bangladesh politics will be more inclusive post-elections. Because mind you, on the ground, the Hindus and the Muslims till recently were living together in very strong camaraderie.
Right. Pallavi, do stay on with us. Of course, we're going to continue tracking all the developments through the course of the day as well for our viewers. We're also getting some more information that's coming in right now. Let's quickly shift our focus for now. Ahead of the election, the United Nations notes concerns raised by women's groups and civil society organizations on violence and harassment of women candidates and voters, including digital violence. Women in public life, including political leaders, activists, journalists and human rights defenders, are reporting increased incidents of cyberbullying, deep fakes, coordinated harassment and image-based abuse, including AI-altered and sexualized content. So this is something that's coming to light as well, as we were discussing the reports of violence and ballot stuffing emerging ahead of the elections. Now, the United Nations had earlier also raised concerns raised by women's groups, and this is another concern that has come to the fore right now. Women's groups and civil society organizations are talking about the violence and harassment of women candidates and voters, including digital violence. For more on this, we have Siddhant Mishra with us. Siddhant, of course, these reports of digital violence against women, which is now coming to light as polling gets underway in Bangladesh. What can you tell us?
Well, that's right, Aim. Ahead of national elections in Bangladesh, the United Nations on Wednesday said it notes concerns raised by women's groups and civil society organizations on violence and harassment of women candidates and voters, including the digital violence. The UN called on all stakeholders, including political leaders and their parties and supporters, to adopt a zero-tolerance approach to intimidation, harassment and any other form of violence against women throughout the electoral process. Now, this also applies equally to women candidates and voters. As Bangladesh prepares for the 13th national election, United Nations underscored that safe, inclusive and meaningful participation in public life is the fundamental right of the people of Bangladesh. So a very strong word coming from the United Nations when it comes to the security of women voters and women candidates participating in these elections.
Right, Siddhant, of course, we're also seeing how AI is being weaponized here to create deepfake, sexualized content. Of course, women here are being objectified by way of weaponizing AI and deepfakes.
Well, that's right, Him. In fact, this has been the concern not only in Bangladesh but worldwide during the election campaign, during the heat of the campaigns. Perhaps the fake morphed videos get circulated by one or the other camps, to tarnish a candidate's reputation, image, etc., etc. In fact, explicit content, not in good taste also do get circulated. Perhaps that has always been the concern, not only in Bangladesh but worldwide. And ahead of the polls, a very strong remark, a very strong statement is coming from United Nations, where United Nations is raising concern about the safety of not only the women candidate participating in these elections, but also the women voters.
All right, Siddhant. Well, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. We'll, of course, continue to keep a track on all the information which comes in through the course of the day. So the UN has called for safe participation of women. Now let's shift our focus. India is preparing for one of its biggest defense procurement decisions in recent years, as the deal for 114 Rafale fighter jets is likely to come up for approval at today's upcoming Defense Acquisition Council DAC meeting. This move is expected to significantly strengthen the Indian Air Force's combat strength at a time when squadron levels are at a historic low. Alongside this, the DAC may also approve the acquisition of 6 additional P-8I Poseidon aircraft for the Indian Navy, enhancing India's maritime surveillance and anti-submarine warfare capabilities. The Defense Acquisition Council decision is likely today. Listen to this.
Rafale definitely was a hero amongst other heroes. During Op Sindoor, there were a lot of other heroes also. Yes, Rafale is the buzzword. आपने वो word use इस्तेमाल किया. It is the buzzword. Indian Air Force is looking forward to inducting a lot more MRFA aircraft, whether that is going to be Rafale or any other, presently under deliberation, and a concrete decision on this has not yet been taken. And so therefore, it will not be correct for me to comment at the moment. But yes, Indian Air Force is definitely looking forward to induct a lot more of these newer generation aircraft into our inventory, and the sooner the better.
Now, when we talk about this defense acquisition deal, India's biggest arms deal that we're looking at, let's just take a look at a few important elements that we need to keep in mind. It's a big defense boost for India. DAC, it is set to take a call on the 114 Rafale fighter jets. As was mentioned earlier, you must have heard that, that's the buzzword. Decision is expected ahead of French President Emmanuel Macron's India visit. MRFA program originates from 2007 MMRCA tender. Rafale was selected in 2012, but the deal collapsed over costs. Now, current MRFA plan, it focuses on technology transfer and a push for Make in India. Initial Rafale jets were to arrive in a flyaway condition. So these are some of the important elements that we're looking at. Let's just also focus on why Rafale matters. Now, commonality advantage is something that's of importance here. Indian Air Force already operates jet, training simulators, weapons pipeline and maintenance-ready combat proven package equipped with Meteor and Scalp for deep strike capabilities. Capability is known, that's something that we already know. Faster ramping up existing infrastructure, it's going to further speed up delivery, so that's also something that we need to take a look at. And local production is a part of this deal that India is looking at. Also, what we're looking at here is upgradation and integration room. Air Force sees flexibility to plug in Indian weapons and sensors over time. Low risk option would be performance, well known after years of trials. So this is something that we're looking at right now. So we are looking at this big arms deal. We have for more on this, Akash Sharma is joining us live. Akash, thank you so much for joining me. How do you assess the significance of this?
Right, it is an important, of course, case which is going to come up for discussion today in the Defence Acquisition Council meeting, which is expected, of course, today. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh will chair that meeting, and all the 3 service chiefs, along with Defence Secretary and all other stakeholders, would be a part of this meeting. Now, you rightly pointed out, 114 Rafale, are important for Indian Air Force, and at a time when Indian Air Force is, facing shortage of the aircraft, at that point in time, these aircraft would be important. Now, what is in the agenda, what, is the sort of plan? Let me, break down this for you. 114 Rafale, out of which 88 would be single-seater and remaining would be twin-seater. We have been given to understand that around 18 of these aircraft, it means that one squadron will come in a flyaway condition. Now, this is an old case. And why it was important? Because, straight from 2007, Air Force was looking for some in fact, medium role fighter aircraft. At that point in time, in fact, Rafale was shortlisted, but then we know that how they ended up with just 2 squadrons, and this tender was never discussed. But after that, now at this point in time, when we have already retired the MiG-21 aircraft, and also, we are facing delays in the delivery of Tejas Mark 1 Alpha. At that point in time, Indian Air Force was looking for the aircraft, and at that point in time, they thought they should reconsider the MMR. In fact, a multi-role modern fighter aircraft, and that's when Rafale was recommended once again by the Indian Air Force. Now today we are expecting that AON would be granted. Remember, French President Emmanuel Macron, is expected in India in the days to come, and at that point in time, we are expecting that after AON, possibly when both the leaders will meet, some sort of announcement may happen. Again, deal is still something that we'll wait for. But right now, this is AON, which is an important step, after which cost negotiations will happen, of course. Before cost negotiation, we will have the tender, then the cost negotiation, then the CCS clearance, of course. Other than that, Haim, just will take 30 seconds, because as far as this Defence Acquisition Council is concerned, so we have some important cases, other important cases as well. We have P-8I aircraft. Those sources are, suggesting that it won't be approved, given the fact that, we have this big ticket order, Rafale. But then, P-8I is already there. Scalp missile is also there. We have been given to understand that one marine engine program for the Indian Navy, that is an indigenous program, that is also there. HAPS is there. HAPS is again, high altitude pseudo satellites that will somewhere help Indian Air Force for the surveillance missions. All of these cases are expected to be discussed today when the Defence Acquisition Council, which is the top decision-making body of the Defence Ministry, is set to convene. In fact, the officers are going to sit.
All right, Akash, thank you so much for bringing us all the latest on this. Also joining me right now, Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, former DG Inspection and Safety, Indian Air Force. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. I want to begin by asking you, how do you see this acquisition deal further strengthening the Indian Air Force's combat strength?
You have covered most of the aspects, but for your viewers, the delay in LCA and the delay in getting these numbers on our flight lines is the most worrisome aspect. The LCA Mark 1, which were to be delivered by 2016, 2 are yet to be delivered. The LCA Mark 1 Alphas, which were to start coming into service by 2018 and operationalized by 2021, have still not joined us. Now, there are a lot of issues, the delay in GE engines, all of you are aware, the delay in integration, but the squadron strength, like covered by you, is depleting by the day. Now, at this stage, to again go back to the drawing board to evaluate and assess a new platform would be painstaking. Though the Vice Chief in his introductory remarks yesterday did mention that we have not finalized as yet, but it is one of the shortlisted aeroplanes. Now, you have already covered why it makes sense to continue with the same platform, because the Indian Navy and we have a large ecosystem of Rafale in our country now. The airframes are being manufactured. The Safran engine, which is a part of Rafale, is already set up for his MRO at Hyderabad, which the Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated a few months ago. Also, a large amount of private companies, MSMEs, have been roped in to make parts for these aeroplanes in and around the peninsular India. So, in case the pending orders of Rafale, which is more than 500 with the French government, is to be materialized, they need more production lines. Some call it FAL, the final assembly lines, and at some places, the complete manufacturing is outsourced, like it is in the case of F-35. So it is in order for our country to have the manufacturing of Rafales. And for your person now just covered that a few will come away in flyaway conditions and rest would be manufactured here. So that answers your question probably.
Right, so of course we're seeing that there's this big Make in India push as well. Just for the benefit of our viewers, if you could summarize this proposal which we are expecting is to get that clearance from the Defence Acquisition Council today is setting the stage for the final contract. What does that really mean for India and its combat readiness?
we already have, it has proven itself in Op Sindoor. The tactics and the crew, both the air crew, ground crew, technicians, the ecosystem is well versed with handling of this, setting up of labs, setting up of infrastructure, repair base is already in place. The simulators, the crew training, the interoperability is already there. The Navy also is procuring the same platform. So it is in order to have a similar platform for ease of all the factors which we had covered earlier. Readiness, the weapons is the biggest part, which so be it Scalp, be it Meteor, be it Hammer, be it Spectra, all these weapons have been tested, and the indigenization part would be discussed when the deal would be put in place. The India of 2016, when we did the G2G deal in the first case, and India of 2026 are two different things. In my opinion, India would be in a better position to extract what we need in this coming deal, as and when 5 days later the French president arrives in India.
All right. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with your insights and your perspective on this. Thank you so much. All right, and with that, we're going to slip into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. News and updates will continue on the other side on CNN News 18. Stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in, as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore the order. So definitely, the pictures and the videos are available in public domain, and this was against the appointment of a politician as a justice minister by Recep Tayyip Erdogan inside the Turkey parliament.
Right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for gathering all that. Now we're shifting focus to some more breaking news. Now this one is from Dhaka.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlik as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlik from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul chief prosecutor Akin Gurlek as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlek from being sworn in as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shouting, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore the order. So definitely, the pictures and the videos are available in public domain, and this was against the appointment of a politician as the justice minister by Recep Tayyip Erdogan inside the Turkey parliament.
Right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for gathering all that. Now we're shifting focus to some more breaking news. Now this one is from Dhaka.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul chief prosecutor Akin Gurlek as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlek from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul chief prosecutor Akin Gurlek as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlek from being sworn in as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shouting, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament.
Good morning and a very warm welcome. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. I'm Kritsween Valia. Let's start with the latest we're tracking from Karnataka. Amid the state budget session, Siddaramaiah, the chief minister, and his government is now under scrutiny over his nod for a foreign trip for 14 MLAs. Let's tell you what the controversy is all about. A tour initially billed as study trip by Animal Husbandry Department has turned into this private trip in the state. This comes amid Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar's absence from the state at this crucial time. Now, these 14 MLAs, led by State Minister Venkatesh, plan a 16-day trip to New Zealand and Australia from the 16th of February to the 3rd of March. CNN News 18 has accessed the list of MLAs who have sought an NOC for foreign travel. Minister Bhairati Suresh, a close aide of the Chief Minister, organized it by Thomas Cook. Congress High Command reportedly disapproved the travel, cutting a crucial juncture. Now, remember, the visit comes while Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar is camping in the national capital. Questions being raised on really the intent of this trip first. But let's hear it from the top brass, what Karnataka leadership is really saying about what this trip means for Karnataka. Why is it taking place really? Listen it.
ಸ್ವಂತ ದುಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಬೇಡನಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೇನ್ರಿ? ಅವರು MLAಗಳು MLCಗಳು ಫಾರಿನ್ ಟ್ರಿಪ್ಪು ಅವ್ರ ಸ್ವಂತ ದುಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸ್ವಂತ ದುಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಬೇಡನಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೇನ್ರಿ? ಅವರು MLAಗಳು MLCಗಳು ಫಾರಿನ್ ಟ್ರಿಪ್ಪು ಅವ್ರ ಸ್ವಂತ ದುಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ರವಾಸ ಅವರ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆಗಳು ಪ್ರಾಯೋಜಕತ್ವ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. DK ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಿಗೂ ಉಪಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಈ ಶಾಸಕರ ಪ್ರವಾಸಕ್ಕೂ ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನೇನಾರ ಊಟಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದು ರಾಜಕೀಯ ದುರುದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಹೆಸರು ತರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವು ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷದವರೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷದವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ವಿರೋಧ ಪಕ್ಷದವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲ್ದಾರ ಅಲ್ಲ.
I do want to bring in CNN News 18's Harish Upadhyay into the conversation. Harish, these two developments are being looked at parallelly. You have DK Shivkumar in the national capital looking at meeting the party high command there, and parallelly this update coming in of a nod being given by the Chief Minister to 14 MLAs. Now, is this really about a study vacation? Is it really about a course that they're looking at pursuing? What exactly is the intent here as is being explained by the Siddaramaiah camp? Because the speculation is rife that this could actually be more to do with Siddaramaiah keeping his flock together.
Absolutely, Christine. In fact, two things really matter here. One is the timing and the composition of this group. This is coming in at a time when DK Shivkumar is in Delhi. He's trying to meet the High Command. On the other hand, you also have a lot of chatter around a possible leadership change post the budget. Remember, first week of March, the Chief Minister is likely to present his budget, after which there will be immense pressure on the Congress High Command to go in for a Congress leadership change in the state. So there's one discussion happening on that aspect. The second is the composition of this group. If you look at the MLAs who got clearance to go to New Zealand and Australia, most of these MLAs identify themselves as being part of Siddaramaiah camp or being close to them. These are senior MLAs who hail from the same region as Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. And many of them are senior MLAs. Chief Minister has failed to go convince the Congress High Command for a Congress leadership, for a cabinet reshuffle, which means many of these MLAs who are cabinet aspirants haven't managed to get into the cabinet. So the speculation is now on whether this is an attempt by Siddaramaiah camp to keep the flock together, keep these MLAs, senior MLAs in good mood, ensure that they back Siddaramaiah. And the speculation is that this was initially floated as a study trip by the Animal Husbandry Department. Later on, mysteriously, this changes into a personal visit of like-minded MLAs. It has now got clearance from the state government. The Chief Minister also has cleared it. The question is also timing. Why are these MLAs and one minister going abroad for 15 days at a time when the Chief Minister is holding pre-budget meeting? It's very important for ministers and MLAs to attend these meetings to ensure that they get the kind of allocation that they need for their department or constituency in the budget. And they will be missing at such a crucial juncture. By the time they come back to India, it will be just a few days before the Chief Minister will present his budget, and there will be no time to make any changes to the budget. And that's why there is intense speculation now on whether this is an attempt by Siddaramaiah camp to keep the flock together, keep them in good humor, especially senior MLAs who hail from the region where Siddaramaiah does and who haven't managed to get into the cabinet.
Okay, so whether or not this is really a counter-strike coming in from Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, that remains the big question, open to all possibilities still. Thank you so much, Harish, for joining us with that quick update. We'll keep coming back to you as and when we have more clarity on what's really ongoing in the Congress camp in Karnataka. Shifting our focus to more, we're tracking on Congress's part. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi triggered fiery exchange in Lok Sabha after accusing the Narendra Modi-led government of having, quote-unquote, sold India during his speech on the India-US trade agreement. He questioned whether the centre had compromised the interests of farmers in the nation. His remarks have drawn a sharp rebuttal from the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju, who defended the government and also accused the Congress leader of making lies and baseless allegations on the floor of the House. Kiran Rijiju also said the ruling alliance would seek to have the alleged false statements expunged from the official records. Following Rahul Gandhi's speech during the budget debate, Kiran Rijiju further said the government would serve a notice to the chair seeking authentication of the claims made by the LOP. He also stated that a privilege notice would be moved against Rahul Gandhi. According to sources, the government may seek to expunge Rahul Gandhi's entire speech from the House records if he fails to substantiate the allegations. So that's the big word coming in the latest controversy from the Parliament. A lot of reactions have come into this as well. Listen in.
You have opened the door to mechanized American farms, thousands and thousands of acres each farm. You have opened the door to crush our poor farmers. It is disgraceful. It is disgraceful. If the India alliance was negotiating with President Trump, if you want access to this data, then please understand that you are going to talk to us as an equal. We understand that you need to protect your farmers, but we will also protect our farmers. I am saying that you have sold India. Are you not ashamed of selling India? Yes. Do you have no shame of selling India? You have sold our mother, Bharat Mata. Do you have no shame?
ये ऑथेंटिकेट करने के लिए मैं ऑथेंटिकेट करता हूँ ये बोलने से ऑथेंटिकेशन नहीं होता है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अगर किसी के ऊपर वो एलिगेशन लगाते हैं तो जो सदन के सदस्य है उनको नोटिस देना पड़ता है। अगर वो सदन के सदस्य नहीं है तो ऐसे एलिगेशन वाइल्ड एलिगेशन नहीं लगा सकता है।
He has made a serious allegation against Hardeep Singh Puri without giving any notice. It is a serious breach of privilege. We are going to file necessary notice to the Honorable Speaker.
ये क्लियरेंस करने के लिए डिजिटल एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म बनाया जिससे इंपोर्ट भी एक्सपोर्ट भी एक ही विंडो के द्वारा हो सकते हैं। ये कुछ नहीं पड़ा, आ गए हमें लेक्चर करने के लिए। हमारे देश का इनसिक्योरिटी ये सब है बजट में, पड़ा कि नहीं है?
I do want to bring in CNN News 18's Payal Mehta and Arunma into the conversation. Payal, we've heard two fiery counter rebuttals coming in from the government side. Kiran Rijiju, also Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Put that in perspective for us, because we're learning that the next move is going to be moving a privilege notice against Rahul Gandhi.
Look, the last time around that Rahul Gandhi made those wild allegations while, he was accusing the government of something, he did not come out, and did not clarify it. Rahul Gandhi needs to understand that if he comes and says something and then shoots and scoots, it doesn't work like that. You have to authenticate the original source of your information. Just in case, as far as the Narwane book example is really concerned, he's not signed on that authentication, which clearly means that he's probably not very sure of what facts he's bringing to the fore. That's what the government has been saying. Over here as well, Kiran Rijiju, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, said on the floor of the House that it is important for Rahul Gandhi to understand how the authentication process really functions, and he needs to authenticate it by a stipulated time so that they can take the matter up as well. And failing which, they're going to request the Lok Sabha Speaker to expunge his entire speech and leave no grounds whatsoever to be available to be spreading some sort of misinformation about the country. That is something which is there. But apart from that, the fact that he's made allegations against the Prime Minister, made allegations against the government of having sold India, that itself will invite a privilege motion which the government is mulling to move. So you can expect a lot of activities today, because tomorrow is the last day of the first part of the budget session, and then there's a recess before the House resumes again. So you can expect a lot of activities to come in as far as that is really concerned today. But counter coming in from Piyush Goyal, from Nirmala Sitharaman, from Prahlad Joshi, from Ashwini Vaishnav, in terms of how Rahul Gandhi has constantly been only spreading lies and peddling facts which are not even existent anywhere but are merely a figment of his imagination.
Okay, his pointed allegation, rather theme of his attack, was really a sellout of national interest. Those were his words, which have been objected to by the Treasury. I do want to bring in Arunma into the conversation, Arunma, but this very much was the one charge that we were seeing coming in from the opposition since the interim trade deal was announced between India and the United States. Of course, the entire General Naravare unpublished memoir then took center stage somewhere in the middle, but that has been the opposition strategy essentially since day one, isn't it?
Yes, so even when Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party was making this charge that parliament is not functioning because LOP is not being allowed to speak, outside Rahul Gandhi was constantly saying that, I am not being allowed to speak because I want to make a point about the Indo-US trade deal, about the Epstein files, and about how the country has been sold out. So outside, his media interaction was on this line consistently since the House was stalled. So there was no surprise that inside, when he got a chance to speak on budget, he seized on these themes as well. Rahul Gandhi claims that he can authenticate. The authentication process itself is now under scanner. What government functionaries have been pointing out that over the years, you always thought that whatever a member of parliament said on the floor of the house, he or she was saying it with full responsibility. So the standard operating procedure that was considered acceptable was that an MP would just sign and give it to the table there. But that is not the laid down, if you just go by the rule book, that is not the laid down procedure. You have to authenticate, in the sense, bring out the original source of information. That is what has become the bone of contention now. Now, Rahul Gandhi claims that the charges he has made against Mr. Puri is based on the Department of Justice documents that have come out. He will then have to come out and show how did he get, what is the source from which he has got the Department of Justice documents? Is it in public domain? How has he managed to come to this conclusion? Second point is whether a notice was given or not given. So all these procedural questions will be put to Rahul Gandhi, but the opposition feels that procedure or no procedure, privilege or no privilege, the leader of opposition has managed to build a larger case of a sellout for the country. Government, however, points out that Rahul Gandhi did not do his homework. Just before we spoke, the fact sheet was amended by US, where reference to agriculture was removed. The word commitment was replaced by intended, and certain pulses was also removed from that fact sheet, something that Rahul Gandhi perhaps did not read or reflect when he made the charge.
And that's why the government continues to maintain that this is shoot and scoot, that there is really no merit in the claims that have been made by Rahul Gandhi. Let's shift our focus to more reactions that are coming in. Thank you, Arunman Payal, for getting us all those details.
Was traveling abroad, this gentleman took an ordinance which was approved by the cabinet, और उन्होंने प्रेस आप जैसे वरिष्ठ पत्रकारों को बुला के निमंत्रित करके उनके सामने ऑर्डिनेंस फाड़ के हवा में फेंक दी. This is the same युवा leader who a few months ago said that one particular Brazilian model has name had appeared and that she had voted several times. पता लगा ब्राजीलियन तो है, मॉडल है, पर किसी ने उनको गलत इंफॉर्मेशन युवा नेता को दे दी थी और युवा नेता ने जो उनको इंफॉर्मेशन दी वो जाके उन्होंने जनता के सामने रख दी, ओनली टू कट अ सॉरी फिगर लेटर. तो ये वो उस किस्म के नेता हैं.
And shifting our focus to more breaking news coming in. This is a CNN News 18 exclusive news break. The 37th report submitted to the United Nations Security Council is a monitoring document that has a note of the Red Fort blast as well. Dated 4th February, the report says that global counter-terrorism bodies continue to treat South Asia-based jihadi groups as active. This says despite leadership sanctions, financial curbs and international pressure over the years, the report also speaks of records that Jaish-e-Mohammed is still accessed by at least one member state as operational and capable of planning high-impact attacks. Top intel sources telling Manoj Gupta that intelligence inputs also point to how the UNSC is monitoring or the UNSC monitoring report indicates that Jaish-e-Mohammed is not dead, that Jaish-e-Mohammed is transitioning from overt to high-frequency attacks to selective and high-impact operations. CNN News 18, remembered, also reported earlier about Jaish-e-Mohammed's Women's Brigade. And now the UN report confirms that one news break, which was put out by us. I do want to bring in CNN News 18's Anand Narasimhan into the conversation. Anand, what do you make of this? Key details coming to light, but more importantly, the notorious design by Jaish-e-Mohammed also linked to the Red Fort blast case.
Morning, Christine, and morning to our viewers. This only confirms CNN News 18's report, and it also underlines the fact that Bharat has not been misleading the world, unlike Pakistan, because the UN finds concurrence in what Bharat has always been saying, that the Jaish is not yet destroyed, and they are actively planning attacks on Bharat's soil. And this also corroborates with what the Jaish leadership has been saying in its addresses while they are trying to become a political outfit and trying to combine ranks with the Lashkar, etc. But more importantly, the Jaish-e-Mohammed is something which we had also reported, and we had said that Dr. Shaheen, who was arrested as part of the Al-Falah module, had been identified as the leader of the Jaish-e-Mohammed brigade, that is the women's wing, and they are also now going to be actively planning attacks in and around Punjab. So weaponizing women of Bharat after radicalizing them, and that too these white-collar terrorists who can actually hide in plain sight. This actually shows that the Jaish is quite active within Bharat and also trying to foment further terror attacks in Bharat. Now, whether or not this merits further action or pressing the unpause button on Op Sindoor or lends credence to what Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi appealed for in Parliament yesterday, that we'll have to wait for what the government has to say. But this confirms CNN News 18's report earlier. In fact, a month ago itself, we had put out that there is an active Jaish involvement in the Al-Falah module, in the Delhi blast, and also in terms of weaponizing and radicalizing women.
Oh yes, I do want to bring in Siddhant Mishra into the conversation as well. Separately, the report also noted that 3 individuals allegedly involved in separate attacks, namely Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, were killed in July, which again shifts focus back, Siddhant, to security operations against militant networks in the region. But more importantly, like Anand was also highlighting, the way Jaish continues to operate, not just in India, and the entire region has not gone unnoticed.
Well, that's right, Katsween. In fact, what Manoj is bringing for us, and in fact, this is what top sources are telling Manoj Gupta, that intelligence inputs suggest in the UNSC monitoring report indicate that Jaish-e-Mohammed is not dead. JEM is transitioning from overt to high-frequency attacks to selective and high-impact operations. They are combined new organizational rebuilding. This suggests intent to stay relevant under sustained scrutiny rather than reducing their capability. So, as Manoj is reporting for us, this is once again reaffirming the fact that Jaish-e-Mohammed is very much active and perhaps has links with various terror attacks taking place in India, including the attack in New Delhi in the month of November near Red Fort. In fact, as Anand was also pointing out, Krichween, that this is exactly what Manoj Gupta reported a few months back, that how Jaish-e-Mohammed is making women's brigade. Jaish issues circular as a JM's women's outreach program, which is titled as Jamaat-e-Islami. It seeks to recruit and indoctrinate women into the JEM ecosystem under the name of Islamic Reform PT. Jaish used words like Bismillah, Quranic verses, and image of Makkah and Medina. These provides divine legitimacy to JEM's narrative, which is important for propaganda design. And perhaps the same, what Manoj reported almost a month back, is now finds reflection in this latest UNSC report, which we have brought for our viewers.
Oh yes, one of the key highlights is of course how CNN News 18's Newsbreak stands confirmed of the all-women's unit of Jaish. Anand continues to stay on with us. Anand, it also points to the shift in recruitment and facilitation strategies by the group. So if you could just come in on that a little bit, and what kind of a networking are we really looking at through this report? What does it expose clearly?
Well, the Jaish has really modified its operations. Look at this. The preparation for this entire Jaish-e-Mohammed and also the Al-Falah module started about in 2014-2015 and got far more active post-2019. So the Jaish also is trying to evolve and trying to penetrate into the white-collared terrorism and hybrid terrorism. This has been flagged off by multiple people who were core commanders, including Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey and Lieutenant General K.J.S. Dhillon, that this is how these modules are now working. They have then used this entire integration, complete integration of Jammu and Kashmir into Bharat as a foil to also spread their own cadre across the length and breadth of the country, while these people operate from highly encrypted channels and continue to indoctrinate and radicalize further, and that too highly educated, qualified professionals who continue to operate in their professional capacities while preparing for a strike when the right time comes. So these are like very, very active sleeper cells, but these are white-collared sleeper cells which are present here. And they have come to light with this entire Al-Falah module, and also with the Gujarat module, where this person was using getting ready to get a bio weapon ready, because of the amount of ricin that was caught. Then after that, look at the kind of explosive caches that have been recovered from Rajasthan in these repeated raids.
Yeah, and we've pulled out those excerpts as well, Anand. Some of it is on our screens as well. Sorry to interrupt. I do want to bring in defense expert Major General K.K. Sinha into the conversation. Thank you, Anand and Siddhant, for joining us with all those details. General Sinha, good morning. Your thoughts here. It was something that India had exposed to the world already, with this UN report taking close note of the same. Jaish, how it continues to operate, its nefarious designs, all of it exposed if we just go by the nitty-gritties that have been highlighted in this report.
Good morning, Jahan. Yeah, this 37th report of UN, which has now come out, actually gives it exactly what India has been telling to the complete world, that the nefarious design of the Pakistan, especially by the Jaish, is carrying on. The module can be in the University of Al-Falah University, the doctors from Jammu and Kashmir who has come over here, and this has basically infiltrated into and proliferated into the white-collar terrorism. And with the module here, what happened, especially after the blast, so minute to minute we are able to, tell how it has happened, how these people were doing it from very long period, how it's linked with the UP, because the doctor from there, the lady doctor was involved in that, and how the module has spread.
Yeah. Not just that, General Sinha, also, the shameless propaganda that's on full display. And more importantly, the UN report talking about the one challenge that we've all known, which is despite sanctions, despite leadership sanctions, financial curbs, the international pressure that's been mounting over these groups for years, this continues no matter what. Thank you, General Sinha, for joining us. We need to head into a very quick break. We'll reconnect with you, take the story forward. For now, it's a short break here.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlek as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlek from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gurlek as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gurlek from being sworn in, as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore the order. So definitely, the pictures and the videos are available in public domain, and this was against the appointment of a politician as a justice minister by Recep Tayyip Erdogan inside the Turkey parliament.
Right, right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for gathering all that. Now we're shifting focus to some more breaking news. Now this one is from Dhaka.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during a cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President of Turkey, his decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gürlek as the country's new justice minister. Now tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gürlek from being sworn in. Lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. Now, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore order. And let me go across to Siddhant for this. Siddhant, well, looking at these visuals, I am reminded of the Royal Rumble series of the WWE. If you could tell our viewers what really transpired here.
Well, that's right. In fact, Turkey's parliament descended into chaos on Wednesday as a heated confrontation broke out between members of the ruling party and opposition lawmakers during cabinet reshuffle session. The clash was sparked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's decision to appoint Istanbul Chief Prosecutor Ekin Gürlek as the country's new justice minister. Tensions rose when opposition deputies attempted to prevent Gürlek from being sworn in as the lawmakers crowded the chamber floor, shouting and shoving, with some exchanges escalating into physical scuffles. In fact, video footage from inside Parliament showed punches thrown as security struggled to restore the order. So definitely, the pictures and the videos are available in public domain, and this was against the appointment of a politician as a justice minister by Recep Tayyip Erdogan inside the Turkey parliament.
Right, right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for gathering all that. Now we're shifting focus to some more breaking news. Now this one is from Dhaka.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Hello and welcome. Now this is the latest that we're getting for you right now. Kanpur Lamborghini driver Shivam Mishra has finally been arrested. Remember, this is the case of a hit and run in which the CCTV footage captured the aftermath. Shivam Mishra, cops had said, was in fact behind the wheels. Remember, there were contesting arguments which were being made by the lawyer as well. This is the latest that we're getting for you right now. This VVIP brat has finally been arrested. This exclusive on CNN News 18 that we're bringing for you. VVIP brat Shivam Mishra has finally been arrested. Remember, earlier his family had alleged that in fact he suffers from a medical condition due to which he suffers from seizures. Then they come out and said that in fact he was not behind the wheels at all. It was the driver who was driving this Lamborghini which injured 6 people when it rammed onto pedestrians and completely veered out of control. It was then told that he was in fact in at the national capital seeking medical treatment. Now we're given to understand the VVIP brat Shivam Mishra has finally been arrested in the Kanpur Lamborghini accident that we have been covering for you for the past 4 days or so. Now, this is a Shivam Mishra that we're talking about. Let me just give you a background on what actually happened. There was CCTV footage capturing the aftermath of this Lamborghini crash as well. Now, in Kanpur, where Shivam Mishra's Lamborghini veered out of control, it offers a glimpse of the chaotic scene that unfolded there as well. It rammed into pedestrians, injuring at least 6 people. This went out of control in the city's Gwaltoli area. This is the picture of the arrest that we're bringing for you as well. This is the VVIP brat who did try to escape the law. Now, for more on this, we have Ankur live with us. Ankur, finally, the arrest has been made. Shivam Mishra has been arrested.
Yeah, certainly. This is also a U-turn. Earlier, after 24 hours, in fact, Kanpur Police Commissioner Raghubar Lal specifically told us that this is in this particular case, police cannot arrest the accused since the maximum punishment should be more than 7 if cops can arrest him. But in this case, it was from 6 months to 3 years. Now the police has arrested Shivam Mishra after his medical treatment. He was in Delhi for medical treatment, and it shows that even the police theory, the police was also, the investigation was also a bit confused. In fact, the top officer of Kanpur was also not very aware about the next step of the police, and it shows that the latest arrest by Kanpur police shows that now he has been arrested by the police. Very soon he'll be produced in the Kanpur court. For probably the police will take demand for remand of Shivam Mishra, and it is also expected that Shivam Mishra may grant police will be getting his police custody as well. But in this accident cases, it also there is a possibility that he may get bail from the court as well. Back to you.
Absolutely, Ankur. Now, of course, just for the benefit of our viewers, if you could just take us through the sequence of events. As you know and you've been covering for us, there have been so many bizarre developments. Earlier, he was taken from the scene of the accident by his bodyguards and the bouncers that he usually travels with. It was then said that it was a medical emergency, so he had to go for a medical examination. Apparently, he also had a medical condition, which now we're not talking about anymore. What can you tell us, what really, from the day of this tragic accident to the time of arrest?
Yes, certainly. So there are multiple lapses. In fact, there are footages where police, in fact, the latest footage shows that bouncers are trying to remove the car number, registration number plate, and cops are also standing there. So it shows that, the authority belongs to the police, not with the bouncers, but here the bouncers are taking the authority, and, in front of police, there are video footages that they are asking people to they are just shooing away people from the spot, and they are trying to, protect the car in front of the cops, and cops are just standing there. And after that, there is a latest footage which shows that one of the bouncer is trying to remove the number plate to hide the identity so that no one can trace who this car belongs to whom. So, in that particular footage also, there are two police officers who are visible, and they are doing nothing about it. And, in this whole scenario, in this whole case, from the starting, from the filing the FIR, it was earlier, there was no name in the FIR. Later, after 24 hours, police added that it was Shivam who was driving the car. Now he has been arrested. So certainly there are multiple lapses. The police in this case showed no authority and no concern in arresting the Shivam. But after almost 4 days, he has been arrested.
Absolutely, Ankur, you are right. They showed no authority here. Remember, they had to come back empty-handed from Shivam Mishra's home maybe day before yesterday. But this is the big CNN News 18 impact, viewers. This VVIP brat, Shivam Mishra, has finally been arrested after 4 days. Now, let me come back to you on this as well, Ankur. They had claimed that he had a medical condition. He was seeking treatment in the national capital as well. Now that he's been arrested, is there any clarity on what that all was about? Because remember, earlier when the police went to his home in Kanpur, they had to come back empty-handed. They were in fact sent back because of the bouncers there.
Yes, certainly. So it was not very tough for Shivam Mishra to evacuate from the spot. After the incident, he just left the spot, evacuated by the bouncers, and also police did not do anything about it. And after that, he went to his home very safely. And when sub-inspector rank officer went to his house, he just knocked the door, waited for 1 hour, and just came back. So the family did not allow even the law enforcement agency, which is responsible to protect the citizen, they did not allow the officer from that Kanpur police, and just refused him to enter into the house. After that, Shivam Mishra went to Delhi, as per the father's claim, for medical treatment, and now after 4 days he has been arrested. So now the Kanpur police will reveal from where exactly the Shivam Mishra has been arrested, and shortly we are expecting that there would be an official confirmation from Kanpur police that telling us about the details where he was arrested, and also the medical has been done. So earlier, ideally it should be within 24 hours so that cops can understand whether Shivam Mishra was under influence of alcohol, but now it is too late. It is more than 48 hours. In fact, it is now almost fourth day. So it is now very late to conduct that particular medical test, which will help police in the court. But there are multiple delays, multiple lapses, and no authority from the police side.
Absolutely, viewers. Once again, let me emphasize the case of Shivam Mishra. It's become, viewers, a flashpoint in a public anger over this entire VIP culture, not just in Kanpur, but across the nation. This culture of VIP, this VIP culture, elite impunity. Following the crash on the 8th of February, the narrative has shifted multiple times when it comes to the family. Several controversial twists that they've tried to introduce into this entire investigation as the family attempted to manage the legal fallout of this. First, there was the driver switch. After initial reports and videos confirmed that Shivam was being pulled out of the car and was in fact behind the wheels, the family's legal team tried to introduce a family chauffeur who then claimed that he was the one in fact driving. There was also that seizure defense, viewers. In a sudden shift then, the family then claimed that Shivam was in the car but suffered an epileptic seizure, or a dizzy spell is what they were calling it, moments before the crash. In that case then, viewers, the obvious question would have been, why was he behind the wheels if he did have a medical condition as such, which is what then pushed them to change the narrative once again, use their affluence and influence to try and move this entire investigation in their favor. Now the complainants about face in that move that sparked widespread speculation as well. The primary victims, the eyewitness accounts, the videos that have emerged, all of these showed that Shivam Mishra was actually the one behind the wheels, and this brat has now been arrested after 4 days. There has been a lot of police resistance, which has raised multiple questions as well as to who was shielding this brat in this tragic case in which 6 people were injured. Ankur, let me come back to you on this as well. They've tried to put up multiple defenses, that seizure defense, that medical reports that they were saying that he is in fact going through a medical, that in fact there was a medical emergency due to which he had to be taken away from the scene of the crime here, if I could call it that as well, Ankur. So what are they going to contest on now that he has been arrested?
Yes, certainly. So the family is saying that Shivam Mishra was not driving the car. It was Mohan who was driving the car. But certainly now Shivam Mishra has been arrested, so police will interrogate him. But in Mohan case also, when I asked Mohan about the car, whether it was if he can tell us about the number of gears the Lamborghini car has, so he told us that it has 9 gears, but it is certainly wrong. The car has 8 speed manuals. And
right, Ankur, let me just come in there. I'm sorry to interrupt, Ankur. We are also right now being joined by Mr. Vikram Singh, former UP DGP. Thank you so much for joining me, sir. The VVIP brat has finally been arrested.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I would say better late than never, but this is no consolation as to what the crime scene and the crime has been compromised. I would say compromised with a capital C, because the breath analyzer test, the urine test, also the presence of alcohol in the system, they have all been compromised. And there is no scope of misplaced sympathy or compassion against an accused who probably has a sense of entitlement. Mohan, the driver, is absolutely oblivious of the mechanism of this high-end car, and it is on very similar lines of the Porsche, of Salman Khan case, and other such accidents where the owner happens to be with somebody with deep pockets and transplants the driver on the driver's seat. There is videographic evidence, there is direct evidence of eyewitnesses. Therefore, this story, I would say, charge the father and other also trying to manipulate the evidence and make them complicit, accused, willing accessories to the crime, because the police has already initially were caught on the wrong foot. Now is the time to make amends for what lapses have been committed at the Guaitoli Thana level.
Absolutely, sir. We are now seeing the big impact after all that outrage. The brat has been arrested after 4 days. But viewers, it's important to note here, as Mr. Vikram Singh also mentioned, the law has finally catched up with the VVIP brat, but the investigation stands compromised. That is something that we must focus on as well. Mr. Singh, if I could come back to you on that, of course, that would have been crucial evidentiary support in this entire investigation had he been taken for proper medical examination. And as you said, the family here is complicit. They've actually tried to put forth multiple versions of what actually happened. First, they said that he had a medical condition. Then they said that it was the driver. They really have tried to use their influence here to steer this investigation in their favor.
You're absolutely right. Then the police, I'm so sorry to say, I've been a part of the system and I'm so proud of the uniform. But the helpless manner in which they were standing outside the gates of KK Mishra's house was a crying shame. I had expected a lot more. They should have just barged in like a bulldozer. Well, now is the time to see that the law should be unsparing, the police should be unsparing, because what they have done have sent a very negative signal that if you have the money, rules do not apply on you. You can get away literally and metaphorically with murder.
Right, Mr. Singh, thank you so much for mentioning that as well, because perhaps that's been one of the most baffling elements of this entire investigation and what we've seen play out for the past 4 days. How is it that the bouncers were able to stop the police from entering his home, question the people in his family, try and talk to Shivam Mishra? What do you think happened there?
You are speaking.
All right, let me just go back to Ankur on this as well. Ankur, now this is what Mr. Singh has mentioned as well, and something that we need to impress upon our viewers, that at this point,